What's up, everyone? So this is going to be something a little bit different from a spontaneous speaking video. I've been writing a lot of poetry recently because there's an event coming up this week where I will be sharing the stage with a whole bunch of great Christian artists, and I'm very excited for it. It's called Creation Fest, and I'm still practicing my pieces. I'm going to be reciting 5 in total. 2 of them will be solo pieces. Another 2 will be pieces that I'm sharing with Angelica and Alex. And then the last one will be me and Angelica. I'm going to try and get those recorded, and I'm going to probably post those as well. Hopefully, unless if I utterly mess up somehow, but hopefully that won't happen. If you guys scroll down my YouTube channel, you'll probably see a few videos back in the old days of me sharing some poetry and everything that I have. And poetry's always been something that I really liked writing for as long as I can remember. I didn't become serious about it until 2011, I believe. And it was just something where it's especially just now, getting saved and everything. I got saved, or I started really getting to know what it meant to be a Christian in 2010. And poetry was one of the ways that I communicated my message, and I, even got in tune with myself. And I just, long story short, just thought that I would start sharing these. I'm going to call this series Chamber of Nostalgic Compositions. And if you check out my blog site, I already have a blog article called that with a whole bunch of poems. And I'm going to be reading a lot of them from there. But a lot of them are really Dr. Seuss rhymish type. So especially the ones I'm going to be reading today. But the point is, I'm going to be reading them. I'm going to be expounding on, the message that I had behind them and what the history behind it was. Maybe spark some more conversation. And today I'm going to be reading about 3 of them. But starting next week, I'm going to be hopefully trying to post 1 poem a week and talk about that poem. And so right now, like I said, I'm going to read 3 of them. This is level 1 because these are my earliest poems. And I'm hoping that you guys enjoy. And next week will be level 2, 3, so forth. And the higher the levels go, the more skill you'll see in the poetry that I'm posting. The ones that that I recite nowadays, the ones that I write nowadays, I would like to think that they're way better than what I'm about to read to you. And especially because I've grown and I've matured a lot, so even some of the ones that I'm about to read to you, a lot of the ones that I read on the Chambers of Nostalgic Compositions blog site, I'm ugh, it's just a lot. It's cringeworthy, because it's first of all, the rhyme scheme is just ugh, yeah, it's annoying to me. Could even be seen corny. But then also seeing just how much I've grown, even in my walk, in my walk with Jesus, I'm still just as much of a Christian as I was back then. I'm even more of a Christian, if that's possible. I love Jesus even more than I did back then, because I've grown in that relationship. But you can tell that I'm more secure and I'm more aware of our relationship and how to better interact with him. Let it be more a seamless relationship. So yeah, this has been a long intro. Without further ado, I'm just gonna start with the first poem. So this first poem is called I Am From. It was written December 14th, 2011, and this is one of my very first poems I ever wrote. In class, we were given about 20 minutes to write a poem based on the theme I Am From. At the end of the time limit, we shared our poems, and it was when my classmates praised mine so heavily compared to their own that I realized that, I had a gift that I wanted to continue to cultivate. So I'm going to go ahead and read that now. I am from the streets of innocent and guilty blood, crying from the ground, still calling for the love they never received from another. I am from the deeply ridiculed by stereotype ancestors in flesh of charcoal, somehow falsely degrading their intellectual capacity as a person. Mistaken are those who do so. truly mistaken. I am from the home surrounded by a divine presence, an aura that many don't believe in, but absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. I am from a sea of faith, believing in what I don't always see. My reward? Seeing what I believed in. I am from a sanctuary of peace, devoured in melodious praises and soothing tunes, bringing these the sense of joy and secure protection. My brother or sister, I am from an antecedent of continuous relapse, the consuming fires of beautiful yet revolting lust, a foregoing history of self-pleasure and mischief, but saved, pulled out, and redeemed by a mystical force, or what most believe as a fictional character, the beginning and end, and author of the most powerful and truthful book written, though commonly extremely underrated and frequently taken as a joke. So, yeah, that was the first poem of the three that I'm going to be reciting in this. And going forth, they're not going to be like, these videos aren't going to be like as long. They're pretty much going to be like almost like commercial type videos for my other videos that I post on the channel. I'm hopefully going to try and keep them like underneath 10 minutes. Hopefully they won't even reach 10 minutes, but just going to go on, recite the poem, and then I'll explain some of the lines, because some people may not be able to understand them like right away. So for this one, for example, where I said I'm from the streets of innocent and guilty blood, crying from the ground, still calling for the love they never received from another. I was referring to the Bronx. That's where I was born at. That's where right now I'm in Virginia. I have an apartment here in Virginia and everything, but the Bronx is my home. I grew up over there, and people are always getting killed and stuff over there. It's a very dangerous place. Like, someone got stabbed in the staircase of my building, and one time I was like, just chilling on the phone, like around like 1, 2 a.m., and literally somebody got shot to death right across the street at the park, and it was like, neighborhood type of thing. But yeah, pretty much it's a dangerous place. Even just yesterday, a 15-year-old kid got beaten and stabbed to death. I think he was training to be like a police officer too, in the Bronx. And he got beaten and stabbed to death by gang members who were looking for someone. They even got the wrong person. They assumed that the kid had pretty much done some sexual things to one of their sisters. They killed the kid, and it's horrible. Innocent and guilty blood, because people who are usually killed are usually innocent, like this case, but then sometimes there's also guilty, just crying from the ground and calling for the love they never received from another. Deeply ridiculed by stereotyped ancestors of flesh and charcoal, skin tone, clearly. A lot of people back then used to make fun of Africans, used to make fun of people who had, even if it was like one shade darker than they were, and they made fun of that, and somehow like falsely grading their intellectual capacity as a person. I said they're mistaken, because they assume they're like, oh, because you're African, then you're stupid for whatever reason. It's like, I don't really know like where exactly that came from. Thankfully, we don't deal with that as much anymore, thanks to Black Panther and a whole bunch of like other stuff and people just getting sense. But once again, like, it's still something that was in the past, that I was struggling with at the time. I am from the home surrounded of a divine presence, an aura that many don't believe in, but absence of evidence, not the evidence of absence. Clearly, I'm talking about God. I'm a strong believer in God. And if you guys check out my Misconceptions of Christianity series, which I'm still doing, I'm not slacking on it. I just like to do these things well. That's all. And I have this like upgoing effect. But yeah, pretty much that series is me explaining my faith the way that I see it. And if you guys want, you can go check that out. But yeah, that's me. This line is about like, like how a lot of people, like, they don't believe in God. They're like, oh, where's the evidence for God? Or like, what about this? How does this not contradict? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just saying that, like, well, me, that's me. Like that's a big part of my identity. That's a big part of who I am. I'm a Christian before anything else. And I'm from a sea of faith, believing what I don't always see. I don't always see God, ever. I see His works. I see His majesty. I see the things that He does in my life, but I don't ever like physically see God, if we're being totally honest. But my reward for believing in what I don't see is seeing what I believed in, which I believe that at the end of my life, I will be, going to heaven because, I have, not because I'm such a great person and, I don't ever sin, because that's definitely not true. And also not that I go out looking for sin and everything either, but it's mainly because of my relationship with Jesus. Like, I refuse to believe that the constant communication that I have with Jesus would result in what he specifically said in like Matthew 7:21 and 23, where he's like, a lot of people are going to come up to me that day when he returns or when they die, and they're like, well, didn't I do this, or didn't I go to church on Sunday, didn't I do that? And he's going to be like, I'm so sorry, but like, I never knew you. I don't think that Jesus could ever say that to me, because like, no, I talk to you all the time. I come to you when I'm struggling with something, whether it's an actual like life problem or whether it's a certain sin or habit, whatever. I come to you with that. I always talk to you about it. I'm always like honest with you. I talk to you as if like you're an actual friend of mine. So there's no way that you can tell me that you don't know me. So yeah, seeing what I believed in at the end of the day, which is heaven, Jesus, angels, everything. I'm from a sanctuary of peace, devoured in melodious praises and soothing tunes, bringing a sense of joy and secure protection. Talking about, music. I love music. I play piano. I dabble with piano here and there. Pretty much the continuous relapse, consuming fires of beautiful yet revolting lust, is struggles that I used to deal with the most. Everyone has their own struggles, which was, some people may have like struggled with drinking, or smoking cigarettes, or, like stuff like that. And mine was, like continuous relapse, like lust. Like if you check out my video with David long time ago, cringeworthy as well, but, and we've definitely grown since then. But if you check out Slaves to Saved, it's the whole story of how me and David actually came to know Jesus. Like we grew up in a Christian home, but to like actually know what a relationship with Jesus is, like that, I was like, that was our first, that's the story of like our first step into that, and really like understanding what it is. And now we've come such a far away from there, but that was my thing. And I said a foregoing history of self-pleasure and mischief, getting myself into like trouble, but I was saved and pulled out of that, thankfully, by Jesus, the mystical force, or what most believe is a fictional character, because a lot of people think that Jesus is some type of like conspiracy, like, oh, he's just an archetype, like Hercules and stuff like that. And it's like, not really, but okay, there's so much proof. In fact, most scholars don't deny that Jesus never lived. So people who say like, oh, Jesus wasn't real, whatever, that's dumb. What they just argue with is if he really resurrected from the dead. And that's where like your faith will come in. But then even then, it's not even blind faith, because over 500 people testified back then, like, yeah, we saw this dude 3 days after we saw him get killed and stabbed and all of that. And we knew this guy was dead, and we saw him walking and chilling and doing all of this. 500 different people were saying that. So it's your choice. Yeah, I talk about like he's the author of the most powerful and truthful book written, though commonly and extremely underrated and frequently taken as a joke, which is the Bible. I personally believe that it's the most truthful book. I believe that it's often misinterpreted, both by non-Christians and by Christians. And I think that it's usually the misinterpretations that gets both parties into trouble. That's why it's so important that we take the time to really digest it, to really understand it, to ask God to help us understand it the way that he wants us to. And that's what I'm trying to do in this Misconceptions on Christianity series, where I try to like break it down. I try to like do my own studies, and I try to like really understand what it is that it's saying best that I can. I ask God for help. That way I can like communicate it to you guys. Like, A lot of you who are like, oh, I don't want to be a Christian because they hate gay people. And it's like, well, no, that's not really true. We don't. Or at least we're not supposed to. I was going to do 3 of them, but this actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Sorry. But I guess I'll be back next week with another poem. And I guess this is the beginning to a new series. So leave your comments, concerns, whatever. Don't forget, I'm a life coach. So if you want, you can hit me up wherever on all of my social media. It'll be in the description. And you can just hit me up. It's $25 for a profiling session. Like if you want to know what your Myers-Briggs type is, and not only what your Myers-Briggs type is, but also learn some more information about it, like a Q&A. $25 for that 1 hour session, and then every session after that is $50. And soon that price will even be going up. So I'm doing some big things out here, and I'm also going to be needing to upgrade that, but I'm adding more value to myself. And so yeah, I think that's everything. The shameless plug, and I think I'm done.